Roll call the City Council for the meeting on Wednesday, November 20th, 2013. Mr. Winarski, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mrs. Rancuso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon. All please rise for a moment of silent meditation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. President? Yes, sir. If I might, I'd like to ask in our moment of silence for a moment for my father, Glenn Evans, who passed last night at the age of 98. He lived a wonderful life, and he was a man full of zest, and he has gone to meet his Maker.
Amen. Also, we'd ask that we remember every other family in our community that suffered, experienced loss. Ask our God and Creator to give us wisdom and the proper information to make the best decisions for the citizens of the city of Erie.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to accept the minutes from the November 6th meeting and the bills for payment on November 22nd and November 29th. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mr. Rancuso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. Okay, Mr. President.
Yes. Once again, everybody, good evening. I'd like to introduce Mayor of the City of Erie, Joe Sennett, who's going to propose a city budget for 2014. And welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of council, good evening. Tonight I present you with the proposal for the 2014 budget for the City of Erie. Once again, it is a balanced budget that reflects the true cost of providing safety and services to our citizens, as well as accurate revenue projections necessary for providing these services. This budget does not include a property tax increase. The 2014 budget reflects the continued stability in our municipal operation that we have worked very hard to develop by finding new efficiencies and ways to control our costs of doing business. Over these 8 years, we have addressed the structural budget problems and created realistic solutions. The result is a much more stable operating model that allows us to accurately anticipate attainable revenues and contemplate the true cost of providing public safety and services at the level required to properly serve this community. My administration continues to keep its promises to the City of Erie that we will administer city government in an efficient and effective manner. Our department heads, bureau chiefs, supervisors, and staff have all worked very diligently to find new ways to supervise operations so as to save money for our taxpayers while continually refining our methods so that services would not be compromised. Some examples that you see reflected in this budget, as well as in previous ones, include: this year we negotiated a new contract with our police department. Included in this agreement is the provision that they will pay 15% of the cost of their health insurance benefits. With this contract, all city employees are now contributing to the cost of their health insurance at the level of 15%. We've managed our street paving program so that we are now paving more with our in-house resources and contracting out less. This has allowed us to save enough money so that we can pave more streets without additional costs to the taxpayers. In the area of risk management, our enhanced safety programs have led to a noticeable decline in workman's comp claims. Over the past 8 years, we have saved our taxpayers millions of dollars by effectively lowering our risk and diligently managing the claims to conclusion. The upgrade of our bond rating continues to save large sums of money through the lower cost of financing our debt, as well as lower property, casualty, and insurance premiums. In the area of purchasing, we continue to closely scrutinize every contract and purchase being made in all departments. The pursuit of competitive bidding and pricing has resulted in significant savings in each of the departments every year. This year, we were able to renegotiate our utility contracts so that we will be realizing significant savings on energy costs required to maintain each of our public buildings. In the fire department, our overtime costs are down 15% this year. We believe that the development of our rental inspection and fire detector programs have created a much safer housing stock within the community. This has lowered the number of incidents and help to contain our operational costs. Through more aggressive pursuit of grant monies, we have been able to address many of our capital needs with minimal impact to the general fund, resulting in large-scale savings to the taxpayers. We have developed cooperation agreements with Gannon, Mercyhurst, LECOM, and other nonprofits through which we cultivate voluntary contributions used to defray the cost of our public safety capital equipment. Over these 8 years, institutions and organizations have helped us to purchase police cars, fire vehicles, and needed operating equipment for our police and fire personnel. This has saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. Finally, all departments continue to make tremendous effort to reduce the cost of operating supplies and other below-the-line expenses. Although this is only a small portion of our budget, even small savings add up to a larger impact. Through these and other creative efforts, we have developed a more efficient, cost-effective way to administer municipal government services and saved our taxpayers millions of dollars over the course of this administration. This year's budget does, however, include an increase in both sewer and refuse fees. This is the first increase in these rates in 4 years. The sewer rate will be increased an average of $9 per quarter, and the refuse rate will be raised $7 per quarter. These increases directly reflect the increased cost of providing services in each of these departments. But even with these increases, we managed to keep our cost of these services below most municipalities. Our Finance Department, along with the Department of Public Works, is working with the Erie City Water Authority to explore methods to improve our collection rate and deal with the growing issue of past due refuse fees. This is a problem facing all municipalities, and we maintain a much lower balance in delinquent fees than most. We will continue to work with the Water Authority to pursue all feasible measures to collect our delinquent accounts. In both budgeting and administration, we continue to pursue a philosophy of priority, focusing first on our core competencies, and secondly, vigorously monitoring spending, which allows us to continue to remain financially healthy while providing top quality safety and services to our citizens. This has made Erie a model for cities across Pennsylvania who have also faced financial hardships. We have shown that financial insolvency can be avoided if we are willing to face the issues head-on, make hard decisions, and formulate real solutions to restore stability and promote future prosperity. The work we have done to repair Erie's financial hardships has become the driving force behind the Core Communities in Crisis Task Force and the Coalition for Sustainable Communities formed by the Pennsylvania League of Cities. We have inspired other cities to band with us in order to formulate an agenda of change, and we are challenging Harrisburg to address the root of the common problems so that long-term stability for all cities can be achieved. This is something that we as a community can be proud of. The budget I present today will continue our progress. It reflects true revenue projections as well as real cost estimates. It honestly contemplates the needs for 2014 and the best way to apply our resources to meet those needs. As I promised with each of the previous budgets, our goal is to administer an efficient, effective, and progressive operation. After 8 years of this administration, the results show we did just that. This budget is no different. Once again, it does not include a property tax increase. It includes only those fee increases necessary to adequately provide sewer and refuse service to our constituents. And it does not include any new personnel or programs. It simply supports the current services and capital needs in each department. Finally, I would like to thank every department head, bureau chief, and employee of the City of Erie who continue to do everything in their power to make the city operations affordable to our taxpayers. They are to be commended for their dedicated efforts. I would like to thank you, our City Council, for continuing to work with us in a positive and proactive manner. We have all been part of the successes we have realized over the past 8 years. I would like to commend you for your work in supporting the hard decisions which brought us through the difficult times and for becoming more aware of the operation of the city and the consequences of the decisions made within this chamber. I would also like to thank the City Controller and City Treasurer for continuing to work with us to help easily implement the operation in each of their areas. Together, we have created an economically stable city government and have shown our constituents that we can work together to create a government that truly operates with their best interest as a first priority. The decisions and determinations towards the enactment of a final budget are yours. We ask that you adopt this budget because we believe it truly reflects our community's needs. My staff will be available to help you understand the individual budget recommendations and the thought processes that went into each one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any councilman have any questions at this point? With the mayor or Mr. Lichtenwalter? Hearing none. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Questions at a different time.
Mr. Barnes in the audience. I wonder what his beef is tonight.
How's your water? Cold or what?
Yeah, Jim, this water is really, this is light, boy. Really light. I made coffee.
Okay. We have anybody here tonight regarding any repository sales? Anybody here tonight regarding any repository sales? Hearing none. That brings us to the citizens to be heard. Please step forward. Any citizens to be heard?
Hi, my name is Valerie Hellman, and I've spoke with you before, Jim, regarding the playground at Deal School.
Yes.
I just came from a meeting, the school board meeting, because I've been dealing with Mary Frances Shenley also. And my concern was, last week they put in a spotlight, and my house has an addition, so it's further out than all the other homes behind the park there. And the spotlight shines in my window. And it's our family room, our dining room, so it shines in the one window, and it illuminates the back of the house into the 2 bedrooms, and illuminates the yard. You can't look out, it's blinding, the spotlight is. And I like to look outside, and just check out, and at night, check out the yard. You can't see a thing from that light there. So I don't know if the school board's going to do anything, or, if the city can. But for my own, personal, that I need taken care of. Plus, it's the issue with that playground with the noise and the vulgar language. There's not many kids there now. You still get a few, but wait until the spring. We're so concerned. So I'm pretty much representing, the neighborhood. And I don't know what we can do. If there's a petition, I don't know. We've asked them to move it. I don't know what can be done. I have no idea. But any help we could possibly get. I wish they would have spoke with us and let us know ahead of time. I mean, possibly we could have moved. This really hurts our property value, I believe. Who would want one right, that noise and all those kids in your backyard all the time? Now, they said they're working on some regulations, like they posted signs 6 a.m. Now, I hope we don't get kids at 6 a.m. when we're sleeping with our bedrooms right there, but they said 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. right now, but I don't know what more's to come, but they put that spotlight up, and that's,
Thanks.
I don't know. So I don't know if there's any guidance we can get. I just didn't want to call everybody like we were calling people. I figured it was easier to come here and see what we can do.
And I'll be honest with you, I did go check out the playground over there. It was a rainy night. Naturally, there's no kids there, but now that there's a spotlight, but this definitely is a school district issue. Whether we have any influence on them to try to help you out a little bit,
Okay.
we'll do anything we can.
Okay.
And that means going to the school directors and having them go check out the property and the new playground that is over there. But we do hear your concerns, but please understand, this is unfortunately out of our hands.
It
It's
is
more
out of your hands? Okay. I
school
wasn't
district.
sure if it was or not. As a taxpayer, in the city.
I understand.
What's my rights? But I think a spotlight shining in the house is an issue, you know.
They're not.
But, okay. I wondered where we stood
But
with that.
I personally will follow up with school director too, just to voice your concerns, okay?
Mr. President,
Yes.
if I could. Ms. Holman, you said you went to school board today?
Yes, I did. I just came from the
And
meeting.
did they acknowledge your issue regarding the light?
Yes, I was taken aside after
Okay.
I spoke by
'Cause-
Roland Taylor.
Okay, because I would think there could be some adjustments to the direction of the way the light shines and things like that, that they could probably work that out with you.
Right, I was hoping they would put a light, you know, right behind the fence there, our property line, and shine it on the playground. Instead, they put it in their parking lot sideways.
Yeah,
but
so
my
maybe they
house-
just need to have that meeting with you and their, either if it's maintenance or their staff there, to talk about how to position the light. Because I'm sure they want the lighting to keep things safe on the playground and make sure that there's not vagrancy or whatever at night. And that would probably be good for you as well, but you need to make sure, you know, they need to talk with you about direction of the lighting. And since they've given you a name, I think we need to leave it with them to give them the opportunity to make that
Right.
remedy for you.
I just found out about the meeting, so I already
Okay,
planned
good.
on coming to this one. And then
Okay,
I just
good.
found out about that one, so I went to that, so.
Okay, so,
I
okay, great.
figured I'd
Hope they
follow
can
up
help
here.
you. Just giving them some ideas on how to make it work for both of you would be good. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Jerry Skripczak, 1015 West 25th Street. Mr. President, council members, Friday is a significant day in our history. Marks 50 years that President Kennedy was assassinated. But I want to tell you a little story, a little experience I had 3 years prior to that. In September of 1960, I enrolled at Gannon University, or it was college at the time, and I took a job with the Public Relations Department as a photographer. And the first assignment that was given to me after joining the department was to go to the airport and to photograph the arrival of Senator Kennedy as he was campaigning in Erie. And I covered the event that day, and then again the next day when he spoke to the crowds of people that gathered at the Lawrence Hotel because he stayed overnight. Well, I come to City Hall quite frequently after working here 32 years, and I walked by his statue last week, and I said to myself, it needs something. So I thought what I would do is I'm going to present to the City of Erie 6 photographs that I took over the period of 2 days back in 1960. Hopefully you will display them behind his statue.
Excuse me.
I have several sets. Some of the council members will like some for yourselves. I have some here. I've also given a disc of the digitized photographs to Randy Procius, your city printer, and we talked over what would look best behind her, so he's prepared to print anything that you think would fit behind the statue. I thought it'd be nice to have as a little piece of our history. I have some extra sets here. Unfortunately, there's one shy in one of the packs. Each one has 6, and some only has 5. So if you'd like to have them, you're welcome to it.
Thank you very much. Jessica, you're there on that?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's right. Yeah, they're set.
Thanks, Jerry.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
My name is McDonald. My property is 19th and Reed. You know, I have some issues. I know y'all don't want to hear them, but I'm not going to talk about me tonight.
Excuse me.
What I want to know is, how do you train your policemen? I know a lot of people. A lot of people know me. And I get a lot of complaints. I don't know why they come to me with them. They should be coming to y'all, because y'all do the hiring. I don't. I wish I could do the firing, I'll tell you that. But I have nothing at all to do it. As I was saying, I don't have now a penny in that nickel. All I do is help pay the salaries. But I feel like this. The citizens of Erie deserve respect. I don't care what color you are. You deserve respect. Respect. If you respect somebody, they'll respect you. If you don't respect them, then you're not looking for respect. Not from me anyway, and I know a lot of people out there feel the same way I do. If you can't respect me, how can I respect you? Now, there are a lot of people being mistreated out there by the police. They're scared of the police. I ain't scared of nobody, because I'm going to tell you something. We can't die but one time. You can't kill me and bring me back and kill me again. But them reports that I'm getting, it really don't make sense. Now, I got this thing here, citizen complaint. You got your officer's name supposed to be on here, and his badge number supposed to be on here. You don't see no badge and you don't see no name. Now, what do we buy those things for if they can't wear them? Now, I want you to explain this to me now, because I'm not understanding this. You are the people's in charge. When a police stop you, you don't see his badge. There's a black piece of tape across there. You don't see his name. He got your name because you got to present yourself, but he don't have to. What do we buy this stuff for if they're not going to use it? And another thing I don't understand. We buy them long sleeve shirts. A lot of them got tattoos all over. That look gang related. They should have, if they're going to wear it, I know you can't stop them from wearing it. You can put anything on your body you want. But we're buying those clothes for them. They could cover it up. That look gang related. It don't look good. We're spending all that money for those clothes, and they're not wearing them. I want you to explain that to me. Because if they're not going to wear them, then why should we buy them? Why are you spending our money buying that stuff if they're not going to wear it? And another thing, all of that flying around here like you going into orbit, that don't make sense. Because whatever happened is going to be there when they get there. They run over somebody and kill them. That's uncalled for, because I don't think they should be out there running like that. I've seen them, one go over 21st Street one time, and you know, East Avenue is there. He ran through there. If somebody would have been coming, hell, he got killed too. Killed somebody and killed himself too. I don't think they need to be running like that. If they run over some of your people, you know, and your family member, you're going to be mad. You're going to be mad. I think you should slow them down. I think they're out of control. I think we should have that oversight board that we asked for a while back. I think we should have that. And that's not trying to tell them what to do.
Mr. McDonald, excuse me, the bell did ring.
I didn't hear it, but let me have a second or two.
I got to be fair with everyone.
I know.
You got 30 seconds. It's because it's Thanksgiving season.
I want to see you bring them back in line because they're out of control. Do you know what out of control is? Y'all better listen to me. I'm trying to tell you something. You think I'm up here blowing hot air? I'm not. I'm trying to tell you something. Because after a while, you're going to wish you had listened. I hear bad things out there, things I don't want to hear.
Thank you for your time.
You're not going to hear it, you're going to see it. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, President, Council. My name is Randy Barnes, 109 Walton Point, Erie, Pennsylvania. Welcome, guests. I think all 7 of you up there could probably say that if you voted yes, you can see my hand. I think you can all agree on that. You probably would. But I'm here to say you really can't see my hand. Now you can see my hand. There's always 2 sides to every story. I want to give you a little news that happened last month that you didn't probably get reported here in Erie, because it happened in McKees Rocks near Pittsburgh. CSX said they would put in $50 million to a facility, to an intermodal facility in McKees Rocks. $50 million. That was a month ago. How much is CSX committed to putting into this facility in Erie? They're going to help. No money. $50 million in McKees Rocks, that was a month ago. It's going to create 40 jobs. CSX Intermodal opens new Buffalo terminal. CSX put their money up in Buffalo in 2008. How much money is CSX putting up for the intermodal facility in Erie, Pennsylvania? I haven't heard of any yet. How many intermodal facilities does Ohio have? Well, they have 2 in Cleveland, 2 different railroads. They have 13. They're the second to the largest. Illinois has the most intermodal facilities in the country. I want to kind of temper everybody's enthusiasm. CSX and these companies, they put their money up and they've invested. They're not investing in Erie. We're out there looking for people that want to ship. Now, at one time, we were going to put an intermodal facility in Albion because we were going to smelt metal and manufacture wood pellets, and we were going to ship out of Albion because it was convenient to Conneaut. The port. Why does Conneaut do 5 times the amount of business that Erie does? You guys all have smartphones. Later on, look on your smartphone and see how much bigger Conneaut is than Erie as far as their port facility. It's not. Are we not getting that business because our port's not big enough? That's what I've been reading. We need to invest a lot of money. So again, I wanted, as soon as you hear, it's like politicians, when they hear the word development, they just drool and they lose all consciousness and thinking and wondering, where is this money coming from? Why is it for years we hear about an intermodal in Albion, and then all of a sudden one direction, one day we read about it in the paper, and a week later we get an 8-page flyer? Who were we trying to sell it? Did we read about the businesses that were going to, the local businesses that needed that? Did anybody from GE stand up and say, you know what, we need that? Anybody from Lords? I mean, they make parts like this. It'd take them a month to fill a container. Maybe Accuride, maybe it'd move some wheels. Who in Erie has stepped up and said, we need this? Build it and they will come? So again, I just wanted to kind of bring this forward because we don't always get the news from 80 miles away. You know, when CSX puts their money up in Buffalo, we don't always know that. We don't know that they put it in McKees Rocks. But we do know they didn't put it in Erie. There was no announcement that CSX wants to invest in Erie. They're all for it. I mean, they take a rail intermodal every 10 miles on the rail. They don't care, as long as someone else wants to build it, invest their money, speculate on these local businesses that might want to use it. The largest landowner in Erie County, do you know who that is? Well, you're making them larger. You can't turn around in this county. You can barely take a left turn without running into an industrial park that's mostly empty. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but I hope to talk to you again about this sometime, and you'll have a great holiday next week. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other citizens be heard this evening? Any other citizens to be heard? Hearing none, Mr. Clem.
Okay, we have tonight ordinances for first reading. Council file ordinance 15,849, ordinance fixing the tax rate for all city purposes for fiscal year 2014, beginning January 1, 2014, and ending December 31, 2014, with a debt service amount of 2.79 mils and a real estate tax set at 8.06 mils for a total of 10.85 mils. Right now, it's the same as it is this year for next year. Okay. Motion to Mr. Winarski, seconded by Mr. Witherspoon. The council filed ordinance 15,849 have been read as hereby adopted on first reading of City Council. Mr. Brennan. Mr. Evans. Mr. Rancunso. Mr. Jones. Mr. Mursky. Mr. Witherspoon. Mr. Winarski. And we have an ordinance 15,850, an ordinance for the City of Erie, County of Erie, and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania adopting the general fund and certain other budgets for fiscal year beginning January 1, 2014 and ending December 31, 2014, in the sum of a general fund budget of $69,683,906, a total general fund budget, including other fund budgets, in the amount of $127,233,632. Motion, Mr. Winarski, second by Mr. Witherspoon. Council file ordinance number 15,850 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mr. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. And council file ordinance 15,851, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $5,060.46 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to provide for the expenditure thereof for the construction monitoring services for the Norman Way Bridge Replacement Supplemental Agreement 010U19A for $5,060.46. Motion, Mr. Mursky, seconded by Mr. Brennan. The council file ordinance 15,851 have been read as hereby adopted on first reading of City Council. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mr. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. Council file ordinance 15,852, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $81,202.55 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue, $74,427.73 received earnings from the Enterprise Zone Revolving Loan Fund, and $6,774.82 program income. These funds are to be allocated to the Enterprise Zone program accounts. Motion, Mr. Evans, seconded by Mrs. Rancunso. The council file ordinance 15,852 have been read as hereby adopted on first reading of City Council. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mr. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. And council file ordinance 15,853, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $43,794 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue, providing for the expenditure thereof in the 2013 Justice Assistance Grant Program for the Bureau of Police. Motion of Mr. Witherspoon, seconded by I can't make it.
Mr. Clem, do you need a second for that?
No, I do, but I can't make out the.
Oh, you have one, okay.
writing.
All right. I know who it wasn't.
No.
No, okay.
It might be Jim Winarski.
Might be. I'm a pretty good writer, ain't I?
Yeah, I know. But then it looks like an H.
Haran
Oh.
Kunso.
Mrs. Rancunso. Okay,
Told you.
Ever.
there you go.
Terrible penmanship.
Failed penmanship, okay?
It's not your usual signature.
50.
Oh, it's not?
No.
It's a forgery. Oh, it's worse than.
Council file ordinance number 15,853 have been read as hereby adopted on first reading of City Council. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mr. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. All ordinances were adopted tonight, yea 7, nay 0. Next, we have a resolution. We'll have to skip to new business right now.
Sure.
And we have the first resolution for the Mercyhurst girls tennis team will be at a later date. And we go on to number 2. We have a resolution to approve the annual budget for the Erie Area Council of Governments of the calendar year beginning January 1, 2014 and ending December 31, 2014. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mr. Ancuzzo, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Wanash.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to move the balance of the agenda.
I'll second.
Glenn? Any separations? Any separations? Hearing none.
Voting on the balance of the agenda, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mr. Ancuzzo, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarsky. That takes us to committee reports, Mr. President.
We'll go with Mr. Brennan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Just three quick items here I just wanted to mention. I attended Edinburgh University had a legislative breakfast on the 8th, and I think it was a great event. There was conversations about the state of higher education in general, but also discussed the current state of the university, a lot of the challenges and the problems they're having now, and also they're expanding and adjusting some of the programs to meet some of the demands of our region's workforce to really address some of the needs that we've been talking about with workforce development around here. Also, I attended the Veterans Day Parade with Councilman Mursky. It was a very moving ceremony afterwards at the Vets Medical Center. There were several speakers, patriotic music, and songs that were dedicated to our veterans. So again, a very, very nice event put on for that. And I attended an event called Ignite Erie. It was put on by the Erie County Game Revenue Authority. It was a kind of their day of innovation. They had nationally recognized speakers that spoke on entrepreneurship. And they discussed how our city, many cities like Erie, Pennsylvania, need new company startups. We can't depend on big companies just landing on our laps. That we really need to depend on these new ideas and new companies to come along and start right here and grow in Erie. These entrepreneurs, it was told at this discussion, need more investment, incentives, and support, and most importantly, connectivity to some of the resources. So very good information. And then they, because of our locality, they need to customize the programs to fit our region to take advantage of our resources. And also, lastly, they need to, entrepreneurs need to think globally as well as locally to find different things to, either invent or create to add value. But that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have any specific reports to present, but I do want to respond to the last speaker under committee or community to people to be heard, Mr. Barnes, who made his comment and then left, which I find rather interesting. He commented about the fact that the Inland Port Project is not currently being funded in large measure by CSX. I don't know that that's a permanent situation as much as a situation as it stands. What I do know is that the Inland Port Project is one of the few things on the horizon that promises the possibility of a significant number of family-sustaining industrial jobs for this community over the next decade or two. Erie doesn't have many opportunities like that in front of it. There are very few industrial developments going on anywhere in this part of the country. And the thought that we are going to get another 3,000 or 4,000 employee development in our community coming from somewhere else in the United States is a very slim possibility. So if we want to replace the jobs being lost at GE and potentially add to the job base in this community, we have to be willing to consider other options. We have to be willing to think of alternative solutions. And while all of the I's have not been dotted, nor the T's all been crossed on this project, it is certainly worth this community's serious consideration because it's one of the few things on the horizon that offers a significant opportunity for our community for family-sustaining industrial jobs. And with all due respect to Mr. Barnes, it seems that he has got a track record of saying no to things much more frequently than he ever says yes. And if we listen to people like that in our community, we have a community which will diminish and shrink and ultimately fail because we simply choose not to believe in anything rather than trying to make something work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I received a letter which I've turned over to administration regarding property at 901 East 31st Street. They're having some problems with tree roots. I've turned that information over to administration, and they believe that's the same individual that they have been in touch with, but they will follow up by giving them a call and check on it again. So if that person is listening, administration will check with you and take care of the problems the best way they can. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kunza.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Mercyhurst Prep girls tennis team, I did have Jim take that off our agenda tonight because we haven't yet scheduled with them to come in, and we need to get with their coach and make sure they're all able to be here because we want to honor them for 2 consecutive state championship titles. So I think it's important that we be able to do that here at a future council meeting, so I will keep you informed of that. On that same note, I wonder if Ms. Beck could look into something. The tennis courts at Frontier, we get constant complaints of the lights being on, and I know that that's come up before, but now that it's getting dark at 5 o'clock and it's raining and cold, the lights are still on well after dark. So that complaint's coming up again, that why these lights stay on after dark, particularly in the off-season. So I don't know if you can look into that. It's been a pretty much continuous issue. So if you see what you can find out. Thank you. Appreciate that. I attended both the Aggregate Pension Board meeting and the Water Reserve Investment Committee meeting. Both of those meetings were to review the performance of those funds. The Pension Board reported on their funds performance, and they actually have a return of 10.5% over 3 years, the last 3 years return on the funds invested for the pensioners. The Water Reserve Investment Committee reported that the return on the water reserve is 10.3% over the approximate same time period, because this is a newer fund since 2010. What we do is we invest the money that we had received some years ago from the leasing of the water authority, the water infrastructure to the water authority, and what we do is we take 4% of the return on that investment each year and return it to the city for capital improvements. That figure is over $370,000 this year that we'll be able to bring into the city for capital improvement projects. So we think that's significant, and we always try to keep building that fund so that we can bring that money back into the city to invest in needed different infrastructure, or if it's fire truck, police, whatever we need to use that capital monies for. So that was a positive. We did also we will be hiring officially, the Water Reserve, a new investment consultant. The pension has already done that because the contract with Merrill Lynch was ending, and they were no longer going to be serving as investment consultants, and a new company called DeHaab Associates out of Boston, I can't remember. Boston, Jim?
Yeah, near Boston.
Near Boston. A fella named Seth Lynch, I think. I can't remember. Seth, he was here and we met him, and we will be hiring him officially as our investment consultant for the Water Reserve, and that way he'll be able to keep us ahead of the curve and knowing where our performance of our different managers are doing, and making sure we are able to make that return for the city for future capital projects. So look forward to moving forward with him next year, and you'll be seeing on the agenda in the future that contract to hire him for that purpose. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mursky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few things. I attended the Middle States Accreditation meeting for Holy Family School on Erie's East Side. They're up for their accreditation for the Middle States area, and I was very impressed with the educational programming that they have there. And we thank them for their investment on the east side and stabilizing that neighborhood with their school. We had record crowds for the past events at the Erie Insurance Arena. We're very proud of the renovations that have gone on there, and they have been producing results in terms of ticket sales. So we'll keep those crowds coming. We're excited about our Otters. The Bayhawks are starting up, and of course the quality and the caliber of the concerts that are being attracted to Erie are increasing. And so Casey Wells does a fine job over there, and we thank him for the work that he's doing. I received a couple phone calls about parking in the Mercyhurst area. Over the next couple weeks, I'll be working with the administration, and we will be looking at a comprehensive plan for that area. Instead of just this street and picking and choosing who gets parking, we'll work with our professionals in the Public Works Department, our traffic engineer, and look at that area and see if there's anything that needs to be changed. And if it does, we'll take a look at it and do that. And if it doesn't, then we'll keep things as is. But we'll let the professionals handle that, and I'll be working with the administration on that. And finally, thank you to the Jefferson Education Society for an excellent global summit. The quality of the speakers that they bring in and the programming really puts Erie on the map, and it's a great spotlight on the city of Erie, and it's a great way to showcase our city to not only these people that come in, but also to the world. And I know there was a lot of buzz about the debate with Howard Dean and with David Gergen coming in, so we thank you for their programming, and they do make our community a better place for the work that they do, not just with the Global Summit, but with all the work they do. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mr. Mirsky. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few items, not specific to departments, but just wanted to make comment on. One, it's on a more personal note. My oldest son is a senior at Mercyhurst Prep High School, and they do all great theatrical productions. They're one of many schools in our community that have great thespian students that are, good actors and singers and all of that. And their first play of the season is going to happen this week and through the weekend, the 21st, which is tomorrow, through the 24th. They are performing The Children of Eden, and so I'm really excited about this. This is his first kind of segue into that area, and I'm very happy for him and very excited, and he was able to audition and get a very significant role in the play. So I just wanted to kind of say that anyone is interested in seeing some of our young performance actors in our community, it was a great venue to do that at Mercyhurst Preparatory School. I'm sure you can call the school, get more information, but the tickets are $5 for students, $6 for a senior, and $7 for adults. I also would like to thank the mayor and the administration, all the department heads and the staff in the city for the budget that was presented. There's a lot of work that goes into that through this last quarter of the year, and I don't think it would be appropriate for us to not recognize that work. Not saying that we agree with everything and we haven't looked at it yet. We don't know all the details, but the work that goes into doing and providing us with this much information is to be recognized, and so we do appreciate that. And what's nice is that most of what we're probably going to read won't be a surprise because of the interaction we have throughout the course of the year with the finance department and with the administration and department heads. So I look forward to going through that process and deliberation process, and if we need to change something and adjust appropriately, we'll do that. Also, I want to say happy 50th birthday. Happy birthday to Ms. Saran. We've had an opportunity. We've gotten to know each other a lot over the last 8 years, and I've watched. She's not 50. She is not 50, but we joke that way, and that's part of the relationships we have on this council with friends as well as colleagues. But I do want to say happy birthday to you, And I'm your little Mercyhurst brother, so I'm going to pull that card. I'm not going to sing it to her, man. No, I'm not going to do that. I might ruin the whole vibe in the room. It's a good vibe. Let me move quickly here. Happy Thanksgiving to the community. However you celebrate, the spirit of Thanksgiving shouldn't just be the end of November, but it should be an appreciation for what we have. And appreciation for who we are every day. But this is the time of year when we especially recognize that, and so I want to say that to our community. Happy Thanksgiving and blessings to everyone in our community, locally and globally. Also, in relation to what Mr. Evans did say about the Erie Inland Port, I would hope that our community, leaders, citizens, onlookers, etc., would not jump to the conclusion of killing this concept or heralding it too fast. I think it's a great opportunity for us to continue to look at how we can move to provide proper development in our community. Don't know all the details. I am involved on a certain level. But I think there are a lot of details that we can't just take news blurbs, even if they're 8-page news blurbs, and just think that that's all. There's a lot that has gone into and a lot that will continue to go into, and the half has not been told about this project. So I didn't want us to just don't kill it on limited information. Let's listen and let's try and be involved in the process. And finally, again, our prayers and thoughts go to Mr. Evans and your family. And I look forward to living as long as your father did. And if I do, I'll be a lucky guy. And I probably won't be as good looking as he was at that age. But again, thank you for, he shared you with us in the community, and we just want to remember your family at this time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I think at this time, Mr. Clem, it's 8:30.
City Council, under old business, we move to a public hearing. After proper legal advertising, City Council will proceed to a public hearing at approximately 8:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers to consider an amendment to the City of Erie zoning code requesting the rezoning of property located at 3503 Peach Street, being the back portion of said property, from R1A traditional single-family residential district to that of RLB residential limited business district, at the request of Attorney James Toohey, representing Erie Federal Credit Union. Anyone here to speak in favor of the rezoning?
Thank you very much. I'm Jim Toohey, the attorney for Erie Federal Credit Union. Before I speak, I have a couple of nifty little take-home handouts. I didn't know if this might help your consideration of the request made by the Federal Credit Union. One of them is just a color-coded, blown-up zoning map wherein we specifically designate the parcel that's this rezone request relates to. The other is just, again, a blown-up survey version, if you will, that will show the front and back parcels. One correction to note on it, it designates the front and the back as two separate tax IDs. It formerly had two separate tax IDs, but as part of the sale process, the school district had subdivided off the fire station that fronts Peach Street up there, and as a part of that process, they also consolidated the two tax parcels into one. But on behalf of the Federal Credit Union, besides myself, I know Ann Cray is here, the project manager for the Federal Credit Union. Ann, if you could indicate who you are. Ann is an employee of the Federal Credit Union, has been very intimately involved in this project. Also here, on behalf of Momentum, which is the build design firm that Erie Federal Credit Union engaged to oversee the project, are Bob Sanders and Mark Algard. And they're here to show support, but to the extent that any questions, which we know may well not be asked, but if there are any questions, they'll be here to field them as well as myself. So it may have been mentioned in that intro. I apologize that we were a second late stepping in here. The Federal Credit Union purchased what was formerly the Glenwood School in February of 2013. They did so knowing full well that this rezone was going to be required for them to use the entire block as they intended to. And, when I mentioned intended to, their intended use of the property is going to be to use it as their corporate headquarters, as well as for a signature branch. And I know that they haven't advanced too far along in terms of the design process, because that's a little bit of putting the cart before the horse. Wanted to make sure that the request here was considered and decided upon before they make their final decisions. But I can say from what I've been able to glean that they do not have small goals toward it. They really intend to build a facility that the city of Erie and the community will be proud of, and it will provide a little jolt to the neighborhood, if you will. Now, of course, our specific request is that the back portion of the parcel be rezoned so that the front and the back share the designation of RLB, residential limited business. Of course, I wanted to raise a couple of different points that you can take away from this evening as you consider the request. The first, of course, is this is the big legal issue in a rezone is spot zoning. We really don't have an issue with that here, as we're asking that the back parcel portion of the parcel be rezoned to be consistent with the front, so they're adjacent to one another. And if you look up and down the street from the map that I provided to you, you'll see that there's a lot of RLB, and some of it just doesn't face Peach, but some of it is with the lots that actually go one step further removed from Peach Street. Beyond that, we ask you to consider taking a historical viewpoint to the zoning of this parcel. By that I mean the school district owned the parcel since the early 1900s, and I'd venture a guess that if any of you were asked a couple of years ago whether this entire block was zoned in one fashion, you probably would have guessed it to have been. Beyond that, the school district, of course, had the school on the front and the back half of the parcel. And now, as I mentioned earlier, it shares one tax ID number. So there is a uniformity in the historical use. There's a uniformity maybe from a common sense perspective, and there's a uniformity from a tax perspective. And we're asking that you apply that same uniformity to the zoning. One more point I wanted to raise to all of you is that the Federal Credit Union, wanting to really be a good neighbor here, held a loose term would be a town hall, probably about a month ago, might have been a little longer, with some of the neighbors in the surrounding community, and Ann was so kind as to go door to door and drop off flyers at several of the residences. It ended up being attended by probably 7 or 8 of the folks that owned residences in the neighborhood. Probably about 10 people there, in addition to myself and Ann and Mary Beth Wilshire from the Federal Credit Union. And it was a very positive meeting. I think that there was a very specific conversation had. They didn't have concerns about the Federal Credit Union, their use per se, but just about, a variety of items, and just asked very specific questions about how it was going to be used and all the rest. Probably about 3/4 of the way through the meeting, one of the gentlemen, stood up, I believe, even, and said, "Listen, through all this conversation, I want you to know one thing is clear. It's that we're very, very excited to have the Federal Credit Union as our neighbor, as opposed to some of the other potential purchasers of that property." And I feel it's fair for me to say, and I think accurate for me to say, that comment was then uniformly supported by everybody there. They have some questions, but I think everybody's excited to have the Federal Credit Union. Hopefully you'll see that borne out a bit tonight. So to allow that excitement be born to fruition, we're requesting that City Council approve the zoning request. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Anyone else to speak in favor? Please step forward.
My name is Tony DiNicola. I live at 3429 Chapin Street, which is 4 houses north of the property. Our only concern is we have no issues with the rezoning. I have 2 questions on that. Will the rezoning be limited to that parcel only? Will it be a broader scope within the neighborhood, a block or 2 or 5 all the way around there? And the traffic flow, the way it is set up right now, it took a great deal of time through council and a lot of work several years ago to extend Chapin Street beyond in a northern area there, the north part of the, not really the north, I guess it'd be the east part, behind the school, the way it is right now, to actually put the road in right there. There was never a road in before. That street got extended over to Shumpike, and it was it was put in as a one-way street heading south. The concern we have is that it stays that way. What's going to happen to the traffic flow within that? Other than that, we don't have any concerns. I agree. I think it's going to be a nice opportunity, a good fit for the neighborhood. It's going to clean it up, hopefully keep some of the problem people out of behind that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll pass those questions on to Mr. Chermany here when the time comes. Anybody else to speak regarding in favor of the zoning change? Hearing none. Anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against? I believe, Armin, you're up.
Armin Chermany, Secretary to the Planning Commission. Mr. President and members of City Council, the City of Erie Planning Commission at their regular meeting on October 5th, 2013, reviewed a proposal to rezone a portion of 3503 Peach Street from R1A, traditional single family, to RLB, residential limited business. The current owner of the parcel, Erie Federal Credit Union, recently purchased the property to use for their headquarters and a branch office. The property, which was recently combined, is split between the two zoning districts. The proposed use, offices for their headquarters and a branch office, are a permitted use in RLB. The Commission unanimously recommends that Council approve this request to make the entire lot at 3503 Peach RLB. The Commission believes this rezoning would be an appropriate expansion of the RLB district. Thank you.
Council?
Mr. President? Yes. I have a question, not so much for Armin, for Mr. Chermany, excuse me, but for the team. Is this property immediately, if this goes through and what you all are going to do to develop it, immediately go on tax rolls again? I know this was a school building and obviously it was a tax-exempt facility or property. Is that appropriate to ask and answer at this point? I don't know, you kind of look. Right. Can you come up to the mic just for the record, sure, no problem. Thank you.
In response to that question, I know that there's going to be no effort made, and I don't even know of a legal way that the Federal Credit Union can make an argument that it's going to be anything short of taxable. And, they know that and they fully anticipate it. In terms of whether they've already started paying taxes, I know that it would probably take effect calendar year 2014. They purchased it in February 2013, so I fully anticipate they're going to start paying taxes in the coming year.
Okay, that's fine. I was just, obviously being a school building and,
Sure.
And so I just wanted to find out was there any kind of incentives, any tax incentives that we just didn't know about for changing? That was the first phase of the part of the question.
Gotcha.
And then secondarily, that would prohibit immediate, or
Yep.
in 2000 next
Yep.
calendar year.
Yep.
And then next question I had was, if this goes through, do you all have a time frame on when you would maybe start remodeling and be done with the project? Just a general question.
Okay, with respect to your first,
Yes.
there's been no, for instance, tax increment financing. They're not availing themselves of any potential economic tax incentives.
Okay.
So it'll be taxed as in the normal course of business as any commercial property would. And then, did you have a comment? Yeah?
We've already received the tax bill.
Okay, so yeah.
You already got the bill?
Tax bills.
Well, they are on it. Well, they are on it. We're going to get her a raise. Well, and again, that was not a question to say it would have been bad or negative, just an inquiry about the process and that component of the process, so.
And then Mr. Jones, the second half again?
Just a time frame for the project to be
yes, yes,
complete
yes.
and everything, just
Well,
a
I think
general
it's-
question.
I think there are people here that could speak to that. I mean, and
Sure.
of course, maybe this answer could go a couple directions, assuming the rezoning is granted or not, but I know that the design team could speak to that.
Yeah, it's Mark Allgard with Momentum. It's a pretty straightforward question. I think upon approval of a rezone and final board approval of a preliminary project, it's about 6 months of pre-construction activities, design, permitting, et cetera, and then approximately a 10 to 12-month construction period. So you'd be looking into early to mid 2015 for completion.
You're talking total demolition and then rebuilding?
So that's part of the process we have to go through, is to see how we get the best value out of the property. Is it using a portion of the existing building, the entire building, as a renovation or a complete new construction? You have to keep in mind the age of the building, the cost to structurally retrofit it, abate hazardous materials that are in the building, et cetera, along those lines. So,
thank you. Ms. Kunzo?
Let's see. I don't know, I think I have to ask Jim, because I thought his dad was coming when I saw his name on the agenda. I didn't expect you. The expected use of the property, now, if we rezone the whole thing, is going to be all bank-related, office headquarters, that kind of stuff. You're not going to maybe use other parcels for something else? No, it's all going to stay.
Yeah, none of that's anticipated.
Okay, and I think that probably helps the neighbors to comfort that no pieces of the parcel would end up being either sold off. Now that you're RLB, there's obviously more uses that could come in there than
I see.
R1A, so.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's been, I think every one of their design concepts contemplates a use of the entire property, yeah.
Okay, good. And you said you met with the neighbors, there's no objections?
Yeah, they were asking some of the same types of questions that, traffic flow questions, and different neighbors had different interests in it. I think if you lived, it being currently one-way south, so the neighbors on Shumpike showed in force because it funnels all the traffic in their direction. And if you live a little further on Chapin, north of Richley, you probably like the concept that it's one way or the other way. So, I mean, they were asking some questions on the road. They wanted to know intended use, whether any portion of the facility could potentially be used for community meetings, those types of things. And the Federal Credit Union's heard them all out. They've don't intend that meeting to have been the end of the conversation. I know that they've reached out to all the neighbors once since to kind of give them an update. And I know that they intend to keep informing them and also receiving any potential suggestions about issues in the neighborhood from both a traffic but just even management of the property perspective. We heard one on the snow earlier, and the proper place to be depositing snow so that you can pull off on a Peach Street without there being a hazard there, site hazard. So
you still will have those conversations when you're farther down the construction process about traffic flow and things like that, and possibly work with our traffic engineer here at the city if need be.
And we've had some, and actually Leanne Parmenter was at that town hall, simply because we knew that had been an issue for the city when they initially, made it a one-way. So she was there, and we've had those conversations, and we, plan on continuing to do so. So
Okay. Very good. Sounds good. Good to see you, Jim.
good to see you as well. Sorry to disappoint you.
No, I wasn't just surprised. Armin, question for you. The neighbors asking a question about whether this rezoning affects any of their properties or just these properties within the
It would be just
footprint.
what's showing on the map that you have. It's just the one parcel.
One parcel.
Actually, it's half a parcel. If you remember, a couple of months ago, there was an alley going through there, and you got rid of the alley. Well, the one half on the other side of the alley was R1A, and in the front of the alley was RLB. Now that the alley's gone, it's one parcel, and of course, they want it all RLB.
And so those folks that are R1A in that area will maintain
They'll
that.
remain R1A, yes.
Okay, thank you, Armin.
Mr. President? One quick question. For the design team, just one quick question. Do you know who the original architect was for that building? I know these guys would probably know if they saw the existing drawings. Okay, I'm just curious.
If there's any response to that, I please
I don't need
you to
an
come
answer
forward.
right now, but I was just curious.
Any other questions, council? That should do it. Actually, none of this gets voted on tonight. This will be at a later meeting, but from what we're hearing, I believe as a council, looks like good news, so we shall move forward. All right, at this time, we close the public hearing, Mr. Clem?
Very good. That ends the public hearing. Mr. President, you were up for committee report, if you had one.
I'll report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President says, Happy Thanksgiving to all. He's jumping the gun a little bit, isn't he?
Charlie McCarthy.
To all out there, Happy Thanksgiving, really. We'll get hard at our budget schedule here. We're going to have our first one November 26th, Tuesday at 6 p.m. for our police and fire, our public safety end of it, and then take the Thanksgiving weekend off and follow up on the Monday after Thanksgiving and December 4th, and move forward with it from there. We'll go to our
No report, Mr. President.
administration has no report. Mel, anything else before we call it There we go, we're done.
City Council now adjourn at 8:49 p.m. Mr. Winarski, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Evans, Mrs. Rankutso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon.